Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. My name is Martin from Provident CRM, and I'm just going to give a little intro today in terms of what we're going to cover and introduce you to my colleagues and who are on the call this morning as well. So just to who we are. So I'm Martin on the left there with Provident. My colleague Ollie is here as well, and he'll be taking you through some info later on. And then Saagar as well will be showing us some demos in terms of how we actually use Monday and how we manage the process of passing from sales to delivery team and back and forth, and that seamless integration that we've mentioned. So just to take you through the brief agenda in terms of what we're going to cover today and what we're going to address for you. It's an hour in total, so we're aiming to finish for 11. If you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A chat box. Or equally, if you want to unmute yourself and turn on your camera and ask us anything, more than welcome to. Welcome questions along the way. Don't feel you have to wait until the end. So if you do a question somewhere along the way in terms of what we're showing, more than happy to answer it for you there and then, as opposed to waiting for the end. This has been recorded. We will share the recording with you. It'll be tomorrow by the time it's processed, and we'll send it through to you. So just FYI on that, if you want to share it with somebody else or you want to review anything that we've covered today. Agenda then, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to show you today? We're going to show you something which I think is unique to Monday CRM as opposed to other CRMs that are out there in the market. And that's how you can successfully and seamlessly transfer information from the sales part of the process through to the delivery part of the process. So whatever you've sold, someone has to deliver that, whether it's a product or a service, and how do we hand that over to the delivery team? So we're going to show you that and why that's important and why and how we can be successful with that. We're going to cover some of the challenges there are in terms of doing that and how we can address them best. Give you some pointers, some tips, some expertise, some best practice around optimizing that process to make sure everybody's aligned, always a good word, and has the information they need at the point they need it. Show you then how you can benefit from having that unified system, that seamless migration, as it were, between sales and operations and vice versa. And then show you how we've designed an efficient process using Monday CRM. And then, as I mentioned, then at the end, we'll have the ability for any Q&A at the end. As I said, if you have questions along the way, super. We'd love to hear them throughout the process. Or if you've got questions at the end or something you want to address, perfect. We'll have some time then at the end. So I'm going to hand you over to Ollie now for a second. He's going to take you through just some headline stuff, some pointers, and a couple of slides, not too many, I promise, in terms of next steps. Then we'll go over to Saagar. We'll show you live an example of how we've designed a process to handle that handover, and welcome any questions along the way. So enough talking from me. Over to you, Ollie.
Thank you so much, Martin. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out to tune in to our webinar today. So the first slide and sort of first point that I'd like to bring to the forefront is really understanding what makes a success of a sales handoff. What are the key elements that we need to ensure that this is a success, seamless, and continues to build fruit in the relationship with that customer. So the first thing that we need to keep consistent, needs to be efficient, is critical touch points. So consistency within the customer journey. As every deal is slightly different, in every principle, there is the skeleton behind it. There are the elements in every business, of every deal, of every handoff that is the same, whether that be the passing of information, whether that be the communications with the client and that sort of whole handover. There has to be consistency there. And I think the benefit to having the consistency is everyone kind of has a slight expectation of what to expect with every deal. And that will also allow for a smooth transition. When we're doing these handoffs, everyone wants all the information to be in the right place to ensure that we can just move straight on to the next part of the life cycle of that customer's journey. Results, of course, the biggest thing is customer satisfaction. That is what we strive for in a handoff. And the ways that we do that is basically what we're going to discuss today and throughout the rest of this slide. And of course, the aim at the end of the day is to ensure that that relationship and that product that is sold on is delivered smoothly, and that there could be potential upsell opportunities moving forward. Knowledge transfer. Sorry, Martin, just still going a little bit there. Knowledge transfer. So clear expectations are being communicated to the customer, and they're being received in the same way as well. So not only are we explaining to the customer how we're going to deliver, when we're going to deliver, we're also mirroring that internally, and that's being stored. So along the whole customer journey, the original expectations are all in the same place, which will lead us to an efficient delivery, which of course is what we all strive for when doing these handovers. The engagement side of things, of course, once we have a successful handover, we're able to personalize ongoing communication with the client, to ensure that essentially we know exactly where we need to be. And the final piece, one of the most important pieces I feel, is the onboarding side of things. So when the handover is conducted successfully, we can ensure that there is a clear scope of expectations from one department to another. And there is a real centralized area where we can store all of the data. So whenever people need to dip in and out of the customer journey, it can all be there in the onboarding process. If we mind moving to the next slide, Martin. So in reality, we hear a lot of these sort of responses from our clients and people that we work with. One of the biggest ones, and I'm sure everyone on this call has experienced this at some point, is it's in a spreadsheet, it's in an email, or it's plain simply stored in someone's mind. When you're doing the same sort of handoffs, the same processes over and over again, it is very easy to get caught into habits of doing things in the same way. However, we've all had those times where there's a crucial bit of information from a handoff, and someone may be out of the office, they may be off sick, and it's in their head. It's one of the more frustrating things that we can face. However, if we do have a successful sales handoff, if we do have a centralized area of which that this is all managed in, we're never going to face that issue again. I'm sure, Martin, you've had a lot of those conversations as well regarding spreadsheets, emails, stuff in people's heads.
Definitely. I mean, we see it all the time where people are using Excel for tracking things, and then the document is difficult to manage because you can't both edit it at the same time, and people can't access the file at the same time, and there's no date stamping in terms of when updates happen and so on. So it's something we see absolutely. So I think that's hopefully what we're going to show today, is how we can improve on that process greatly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what are the causes of poor handoffs and handovers? There are many, but I think some of the main points are fragmented data. Kind of relates to my previous point. A little bit of some information in someone's head, a little bit in email, a little bit here, a little bit there. It really becomes quite tough when we're talking about across a team as well, multiple different people, sometimes in multiple different countries as well, all working towards the same goal, the same project. When there's just fragments of data everywhere, it can really be tough to find consistency within that data and have everything available to you at a glance. Communication silos, also sort of relating back to my previous point, when we've got people working in different time zones, for example, different offices, or just really very busy team members, when the communication is purely reliant on emails, meetings, and stuff like that, there isn't somewhere that someone can just go at any time and log some information. It really can become very siloed, and that really, I believe, does show in the customer's journey. And I think it is something that is really picked up on. Manual tasks, we all have them. We all have to deal with them. They really can cause delays. If it's something that you're doing regularly as well, it can easily be missed. If it's not automated, if it's not logged somewhere, these little tasks, if a few of them get missed, we can all know the potential setbacks that can cause in a handoff process, and the effect that can have on a client relationship. Unclear roles as well. I think that this is something that kind of goes a little bit under the radar, but lack of clarity on what people need to do, where people need to be, and what their responsibilities are in a handoff, in a sales process. I think this ties back to the point I raised earlier when it comes to consistency within the customer journey. If this is all sort of, logged in different spreadsheets, different areas, and multiple different people, you really do struggle to define your roles for that sales process and that handoff moving forward. And poor transitions, they can lead to a number of issues, damaging with potential relationships with any clients, missed further opportunities, and really it can lead to a lot more work than it needs to be as well if there is no consistency and no centralized area for us to carry off these handovers. Sorry, Martin, did you want to pick this one up?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, I think some good points there and what you raised. So we're going to show you now in just a second. We've I promised not just 2 more slides to show, and then we'll get into some of the detail of how we do this. But there's a couple of things we want to do here, and we want to take advantage of in terms of optimizing this process. So first of all, we want to use the tools and the technology we have to make things simpler, to reduce manual inputs, to reduce things falling off the table because we get too busy. So some automations and some processes that we can put in place to streamline activities, I think is really important, and we'll show you some of that now in a minute. Communication consistency is a good one. I also think kind of shortcutting, and we'll show you again in a second, shortcutting the communication around something. So rather than relying on the next meeting or the next phone call or sending an email, having that contextual communication around what was sold and being able to ask questions in context with it, I think is important and brings a lot of efficiency. Responsibilities, Ollie's touched on a little bit in terms of having clearly defined roles. We'll see that as well. That information transfer between what was sold and what's to be delivered, we'll show you how that can be clearly handed over and identified. And then equally then a feedback loop at the end to see how we can continually improve the process. So it's not just a one-off that we've done it like this now, but there's a step missing or there's something we didn't do, making sure that we can capture that and refine the process then for next time. One last slide, and then we'll move into the demo. Ollie, do you want to mention this one?
Absolutely. So leveraging a unified CRM system. If we look into what makes a better CRM, if we look at some of these analytics that were taken from GTM Partners benchmark report, tech that works together, 3%, teams that work together, 27%, both put together, 70%. It's not only just the communication within your teams working together, and just a general understanding of your process. It really is leveraging on a CRM to be able to get that to do some of the work for you as well. At the end of the day, a lot of people, I think, look at CRMs as somewhere that you have to just sort of log this information and track it, but it really can be so much more. It can really support you in your processes, as I said, eliminating some of those manual tasks, streamlining the process of that sales handover, everything in one place, not having to dig around multiple areas, take a load of time, have a load of meetings when it's all in one area. And I think it also allows you to work a lot smarter as well and really spend a lot more time building the relationship with the customer, as there is a uniformed, consistent approach to your sales handoff process, as opposed to it being a little bit fragmented, a little bit all over the place. I think that consistency is really key in today's market. And I'm sure Saagar, as I hand over to him now, will be able to talk us through how we use Monday CRM internally to ensure that our sales handoffs are executed in the most efficient ways for us and our team.
Super, thanks, Ollie. So I'm just going to stop sharing the presentation for the moment now. That's it. That's it. You'll be glad to know on the slides. I'm just going to share my screen and show you a bit of Monday.com CRM, and then we'll take you through then the process of that. So I'll just introduce you a little bit to what we're looking at here for those who maybe aren't familiar, and then I'm going to hand over to Saagar, who's going to take us through some of the processes. So just to explain what we're looking at, this is Monday CRM. Monday is made up of boards and dashboards. Down the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a number of different boards and dashboards we've already got set up. We're currently on the opportunity board here. We're looking at as a main part of the screen, and this is where we capture information about the opportunity. So who's it with, when's it been created, when do we expect it to close, what company is it with, what stage is it at, anything. Oops, excuse me, sorry, I've clicked back the wrong way. Go back to here, sorry. And basically where we track, and we can get then track our opportunities, track the value of them, get a pipeline view, get a forecast. We can build reporting then from here, and we'll show you some of that later on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through just an opportunity creation. How do we get then, in this example, an estimate? So we're selling a service. We need an estimate in terms of the work involved in it, how we get that estimate from our delivery team, how we pass that estimate back to the sales team to share with the customer and ultimately close the deal, and then how, when we've won the deal, we pass it over to the delivery team so they've got the information they need for delivery. So we just start with a new opportunity. So I'm going to say I've got a new opportunity with Amazon, and we could set up an automation to automatically assign it to me. I'm just going to put myself in there manually. I can link it then here to an account. So we've got an accounts board on there as well. We can link it to there. And then we've got the stages of the particular opportunity. So it's currently new, and we can move through the various different stages. And you'll see then as we go along how we got some automations that are going to drive some of that activity. So like we were talking about, that ability to streamline and automate processes. So great, I've got my Amazon opportunity. I've got a stage of it. I can put in place a value. I can put in place, oh, sorry, clicked too hard. I've got close probability, which is going to update automatically my forecast value. So as I move through the stages, my close probability is going to update automatically. My forecast value is going to update automatically, and that's going to have a knock-on effect in terms of my reporting and so on from there. Automatically, it's filled in the deal creation date today. I can then put in manually, it's going to close later this month. Yay, all good. And further information we can do there. Sorry, I'll keep scrolling the wrong way. So I've chatted with my customer. I've identified what they need. Now I need an estimate. So I'm going to request an estimate from my colleague. So I've missed a step. My apologies. I've requested an estimate.
And you can click on the link to request the fill the estimate form.
Yeah, thanks, Saagar. So what we've done in terms of requesting that estimate is we've created a form where I can share the information of what the estimate is. So I'll click on here, and this takes me through to a Monday form for scoping document. So this is what we do internally then. So I go, yep. So my company name is Amazon.
Just, yeah.
Yep. No, I don't have any access. Customer type, never use Monday. The product, sales CRM. Do you have a leads process? No. Yes. So I can customize and configure this form to capture whatever information I need about it. Here I can put in some narrative around what the deal is. We could change any of these questions. We can adapt these. We can have some that are required, some that are not required. Integration with MS tools. Data migration, yes, and I could attach a file. So you can see we've got multiple questions in here. I'm not going to fill them all in. I could attach a file here, etc. If I'm not sure, I could save it as a draft and come back to it. I'm going to say done for the moment. I've completed my estimate request, captured all the information that's needed from the for the estimation team, and now it hands over then to the estimate, the team, so they can see what's doing. So if we have a look here, this is our estimates board, and I'll let Saagar then discuss then what happens here.
Yeah, so the idea of the whole opportunities and estimation board and the processes, because generally we've seen across companies, the teams are very different and they have different spaces. Some people don't want the delivery team to have access to client information because it can be for security purposes. So the way we've done it here is we have everything that is to do with the delivery team, the worker management, and the sales CRM obviously is in the sales CRM. The idea also is that my team or the delivery team does not leave the work management space unless they absolutely need to. And similarly, the sales team does not need to leave the CRM space. Now, in the estimation board, I can review the information. You can see that Amazon has come in with the company name. I can see the information. I can also quickly pop in a question to Martin to say, okay, I need this information for to estimate this further, right? So now that I've popped in that information, Martin should be able to, so now Martin's department is obviously the CRM. So he could go back to the CRM and on the estimation update on top and the tab in the view there, he could see the estimates that he's put together. All the estimates should show there, and you see there is a pop-up there. He also gets a notification on top as the bell icon. He gets a notification that you have a question popping up. He can reply to me. So he's doing everything from the CRM. He's not leaving his screen of opportunity because obviously we don't want the salesperson to be moving around too much and make things easier, right? So he can attach a file, he can do whatever and reply to my question there. Once he's done that, then I can go back to my estimate screen and I have the information there. So I can just pop in an estimate to say, it's say whatever estimate, I can pop in an estimate there. And so if you scroll to the right, there is an estimation there. I've popped that. And as soon as I've popped that estimate there, it's moved it to the completed group and I can mark that as estimation completed. So you see that request of estimation is now completed. I'm actually operating this from my end, but Martin is sharing the screen to just show you that this is how things are happening. So now when Martin goes back to his opportunity screen, he gets a notification as well that the estimate is completed. And if you go back to the pipeline table tab there on top.
So I can see here now I've got a notification, as Saagar mentioned, that my estimate has been completed. So just to explain, I'm sharing the screen, but ordinarily I would stick in the CRM product, excuse me, Saagar would stick in the work management product, but what's happening in the back end is they're connected. So as we do something on one end, it has an impact on the other end. So I've got the notification up the top here that my estimation has been completed. So I can now come in, here's my estimate completion, and over
to
here
the
I can see
pipeline table in the opportunity board. There, he can also see the estimate being completed there. So you see that stage is now populated as estimate complete. If you scroll all the way to the right, you should be able to see the estimate amount also. He can then go and quote the customer, negotiate or whatever stages he follows in the sales process. And eventually then he moves the deal to close one. So this is an important step of estimation. This estimation step is relevant for us, but we've seen for industries like manufacturing industry, they have a procurement process. In tendering, where in healthcare, where they have tenders, they also have a procurement and a sign-off process. So this estimate then, the estimate process can then be used as a procurement process or an inventory management process or any other process. Just for this use case, we've used estimate as a process, but all these links can be established across any other industry as well. So now that Martin, so now internally what we do as well is now when Martin changes that stage to complete or one.
Yep, so I'm just going to show just quickly. I've just changed to proposal. Okay, so I'm now happy with the estimate I've got back from Saagar. I've created the proposal and I've shared it with the customer. If I send the email to the customer then from within here, then that'll be tracked in here. So I can send the email from within Monday if I wanted to. So I could send the email here, connect it to my account, which I have done previously, and that would show as a record in here, upload the particular file in terms of that proposal to here. By me changing it to proposal, a couple of things have happened as well. It's also updated the close probability. So it's now gone from the 5, which it wasn't when it was new, to 70% now. And it's updated the forecast value as well. So not only is this having, excuse me, an impact on my day-to-day workflow, it's also updating my reporting as well and my pipeline. So I've got that happening in the background. Excuse me. So that's proposal. Great, fantastic. Customer comes back and says, yes, that's great. I want to go ahead and accept it. So I click closed one. You'll see down the right hand side here now, again, there's a couple of different automations running. And it's moved it then, very basically, it's moved it from working pipeline down into Amazon. Here we go. Closed one with all the information that we've collated along the way. So if we had any emails, any communications, any files, etc., the quote, anything else, that's all going to be here in the record against that particular deal. So when we now hand this over to the delivery team, they're getting all that context and all that information that they need. So I'm finished with my process. Yay, I can go home all happy. But now Saagar's got to deliver what we've sold. So how does he do that? How does he get that? So we'll come back in here over to the work management. We're going to change from the estimate board into our excuse me, into our what does POD stand for?
Project on delivery, plan on delivery. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go to the summary board there, so this is another space where we use to maintain the projects, maintain everything that's happening in our projects. How do we track projects after the sales process? Assign delivery managers, look at the budgets, and stuff like that. Okay, so now you see when he's marked it as closed one, it's automatically created a project here in the to be scheduled queue. And at the same time, an automation has kicked in to put 8 tasks for my team to complete. So those are the subtasks that need to be complete. I can look at the project length and I can look at all the other details and assign a delivery manager. So anyone from my team, if I assign as a delivery manager there, then I can put in a comment in the update section to say, listen, arrange a handover, because I now know that the salesperson is Martin. So I could say arrange a handover call with Martin. And I can put in some timelines. This is just how we hand over the sales process internally. I can go on and talk about how we manage deliveries as well, but I think that'll be a deeper discussion. But what I also wanted to show you here is at any point of time, if Kian as the delivery manager wants to go back and look into the opportunity or into what's happened there. So Martin, if you just click into the update section, and on top, you should see an op tab on the top. The third tab is op. If you click into that, so that takes him to the connected op. For some reason that's not.
So it would be connected ordinarily.
Yeah, I think I have the Audio Studio deal there connected. If you look at the Audio Studio deal.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
On top.
So here's one we created earlier.
So the Audio Studio deal there, and in the ops section there, you should be able to see all the connected ops as well, the accounts, the contacts, and also the estimation that was done against. So if Kian wants, as a delivery manager, he wants to know what was the estimation done. If you click into that estimate as well, it'll show you all the items that is in on the estimate. So if you just click into that estimate, it'll show you everything that's responsible for the estimate. So now I know that this is a sales CRM project, and so it's a seamless handover process, and I don't need to leave my screen to go back into the estimate board or get in touch with Martin. If I only get in touch with Martin only if I don't find any information in the estimates, any documentation that he must have forgotten to put, or anything of that sort. So that's how the whole CS process is managed.
Yes, I think that's really important, actually. So again, this is the delivery team's view in here. So we're still in the work management product. We're in the delivery aspect of it. But crucially, there is a link to what's happened before back to the sales process, as Saagar mentioned. So you can see who's the salesperson, when was it closed, what product does it relate to, the information that was provided initially to create that estimate, the outline in terms of the connections, all those questions that we addressed earlier on, the estimate that's been provided for it, and then obviously what's actually being sold would be in here then as well. So hopefully this would match, and this will be 55, which would match the estimate. You can see it's last updated by me here. And then, as Saagar mentioned, if there's a question then about this particular deal, then Kian can go in here and he can message me and go, hang on, Martin, I've got a question about this. And this is what we mentioned earlier in terms of that contextual communication. So rather than going sending me an email going, what about the studio deal? And I'm going, what studio deal? Or the audio deal, or whatever else it might be. I'm now getting a notification and a communication in context with the audio studio deal, which was closed won on today, 3rd of October. So it's just streamlining that communication process and giving that ability to quickly communicate in context with the deal, as I said, as opposed to waiting for a meeting next week, or sending an email or a phone call or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, I think that Amazon deal is now connected. It must be just the
Okay,
automation.
it took a second. Yeah,
took some time to connect. So
yeah, there we go. Oh no. There's 2 Amazon deals, so maybe it's the other. This one, is it? Yeah, it's not. It takes a minute sometimes for the automation to kick off, but hopefully we've done.
Well, it shows up for me though, but anyway.
It does.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. I'll refresh and get it.
Yeah.
So we're showing you obviously what's happening on the surface. Clearly in the background, there's a lot of work going on. You've seen maybe down the right-hand corner, some of the automations that are kicking off when we make changes. So that's what makes this work. Yeah, super. That's showing up there now, so we can see all those details around that. So myself and in this case, Cian, can have that handoff call. So we've determined that as part of a handoff for our particular processes, these are the steps we need. Okay, so that internal handover, kickoff, build, etc., all the way down. We could have different processes here for different types of deal. So this is just one for one particular type of deal. If we had a deal that had a different product associated with it, or some other criteria, we could set it up that the sub item tasks would be different to match that particular product or service that's being sold. And obviously this can be changed to whatever your particular processes are. In this example, we've got 8. You could have 1 process, you could have 15 processes, whatever your particular requirements are.
Yeah, I think Ollie, there's a question with Ollie.
Yeah, just a question that we got before the webinar, actually relating back to my earlier point. When we talk about centralizing the communications within Monday, of course, there's the updates column, but is there a way to centralize emails between clients and internally, and potentially integrate tools such as Teams and Slack within this use case as well?
Yeah, definitely. So great question. So thanks for bringing that up. So back in the CRM product, so this is the sales process. So I've got, my contacts and my accounts and so on in here. Excuse me. And I will have then all the information about the contact. So I've got the contact, where they work for, any particular deals they're associated with, the account they're associated with, and so on, all here on this view. I can then send an email. I should have connected my email earlier, but let me just say I'm going to connect my Provident CRM email, and now I can send an email from within Monday if I want to the customer, because it's now connected to my Outlook. And there's loads of clever stuff we can do here. We can create templates. We can track the email, etc., etc. So I can send an email from within Monday, and obviously when I do that, then it's recorded in here against the record. Equally, I can send an email as per usual from Outlook or from Gmail or whatever particular tool you're using, and that will automatically, if I want, to be populated here against the contact, against the record, against the opportunity. So email, very simple, no issue at all, really simply. So I just had to click a button there and my email was connected. That's not all. We have a whole integration center where we can connect a lot of common tools you might be using to Monday and vice versa. So we can see there's the Outlook one, really simple to set up. I can connect my Outlook calendar as well if I want to. In terms of, excuse me, in terms of other communication tools we might be using across the business, Microsoft Teams, we can do that and we can set that up. And so we can have it that notifications, for example, go into a Microsoft Teams channel if needed. Very simple to configure that one as well. Slack, same thing if we're using that. So lots of out-of-the-box integrations that we can use here to connect tools you're already using today with Monday and vice versa. In essence, Monday can pretty much be connected to anything. So even if there's not necessarily an integration within here today, an out-of-the-box integration, a lot of what we do as well is creating custom integrations between maybe a not so common tool that you're using and you want to bring in. So for example, you might want to link into potentially a finance system or an ERP system or something like that. So that's certainly something that we can do as well.
Just to add to your point, Martin, as well, all those email communications that Martin does, so if he posted an email in the opportunity, that could then be viewed by my team as well, or the delivery team as well, in the delivery, in the work OS, because we've set the connections that way. So if you just go back to the opportunities and show them that I just popped in a question or something in the Amazon deal. So if you go into the Amazon deal in the email and activity widget, you should be able to see I've posted the meeting, right? So imagine this was Martin posting a meeting, or Martin just go ahead and post an activity, a note or something. Yeah, just add a note. Or so the way we've set this up is all these emails and activities that are in this widget would then be transferred automatically into the pod as well. So if you go back to the pod, that should then reflect in the Amazon deal. So click into that, and if you go to the email and activity tab, it should then reflect that in here as well. So since we have everything linked, that should show you up here as well. So I have all the history of the conversations against that specific account.
Yeah, that's great. So that's what we're talking about in terms of the context between the different teams, is that it's not a simple, it's not that there's a cutoff or suddenly, right, I've sold it, so my job is done, or anything like that. So it gives then the delivery person, in this case Keane, it gives him the ability to review, if needed, what happened, what a meeting was about, what the call was. So maybe we have a joint call to introduce Keane to our customer, and we'll have the record of that then in here. So Keane's got the details on that. I've got the details on that. And then Saagar, if he needs to review that, he can come in and he can see what's happened there as well. So again, that connection between the work management tool where Keane is working and the CRM product where I'm working, and it's sharing information seamlessly between the two.
Thank you for covering that, Martin. Just a slight follow-on from the initial question about the integration of Teams and email and stuff like that. You showed us that we can sort of automatically send messages and updates via Teams and Slack. Is there also a way that you can automatically send emails through Monday as well, whether that be to customers or to internal colleagues alike?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do things. So we haven't looked at it yet, but I did mention earlier on how there's some automations running which are making some of this magic happen in the background. So you can see, for example, on this particular board, there's 22 automations that are active currently. So these are the things that are moving things from one stage to another, or reassigning it to something, reassigning it to someone based on a status change or something like that. We've also got then some smart stuff in here. I mentioned briefly how we can track emails. So if I send an email to a customer, I can, for example, get a notification that the email has been opened. And so maybe now is a good time to call the customer because they've just opened your email or something like that. Or we can do something like when an email reply is received, automatically change a stage. So we might change it from a 5% probability maybe to a 10% probability or something like that. Or equally, we could do something like automatically send a reply to the customer in terms of a request being received and send an auto reply around that. So that's one thing that we can do internally then, in terms of kind of notifications and that type of stuff. So I might have showed you earlier on how I got a notification in here that my estimate had been completed. So if I'm in Monday, that's great. It'll pops up here and I can see that notification. How else, though, can we make sure that people are seeing the notifications they need at the right time from Monday? Maybe they're not in Monday day to day, but crucially they might need to be. So if I just go into my profile here for a second, and I can go into my notifications, in here I can determine where and when I get notifications and what for. So I can get desktop notifications if I want. I can get notifications via email. I can get notifications, as I mentioned, by adding a further integration to Teams or Slack or whatever else it might be. And I can determine how frequently or at what point I get that notification. So most people still, email is the favorite one. So that's what I tend to use. But I could add, as I said in here, I could add in Slack or Teams or something else. So I'm getting the notifications there. And what that means is if I am not in Monday day to day, but I get a notification about a particular task that's been assigned to me or an update on something I'm working on, make sure I don't miss out on that notification just because I'm not in Monday currently.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Martin. If you wouldn't mind, if we can head back over to the presentation, that'd be fantastic. Saagar,
Yep.
Martin, thank you so much for that demonstration.
Super, thanks. Let me just bring up the slides again and we'll hand back over to Ollie and he's going to just take us through one or two bits. And again, as I said, if you've got any questions on anything we've shown so far or you would like to ask questions, please do let us know.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Martin. So, leveraging a unified CRM system, what are the real benefits of especially using a tool like Monday CRM for those handoffs? So, the biggest thing we've relayed back to it so many times, single source of truth. There is one area where there will be consistency, whether that be looking back at actions that have been taken throughout the whole handover process, whether that be communications with the client, which we've shown you a little bit about, or just the general updates on the process as a whole. Having one centralized tool where you can do not only the CRM piece, but then the ongoing management of that handover really does bring through, consistency within your data. There's less tools in the mix, so there's less chance for error. And of course, one of those big all important things, less costs at the same time. A friendly UX within the system, so it's really easy for teams to pick up. We know that nowadays businesses are growing all the time, new people are coming in. When there's consistency in a CRM system and it's very process driven, it's very easy to bring this on to new starters, new staff, or just general other departments that haven't seen the CRM before, which will allow a seamless continuation of your handoffs and a unified platform. Of course, enhanced collaboration is something that every business, I believe, pushes for, especially in today's more remote working culture. It can be quite hard to drive, but when everyone is singing off the same hymn sheet in the same CRM with the same process, really do feel that it's a way to enhance collaboration. And that really does show, I believe, truly on the client side as well. When everyone's on the same page, it can really be seen from the client side as well.
Yeah, super. Thanks. I agree with all that you said there. And so just one or two more bits, and then I said we'll address any questions that we haven't done already, or again if you do have more. So last two slides, I think it is, Ollie, and we'll go into the questions then at that stage.
Absolutely. So designing an efficient handoff process and using Monday as your CRM. Some of the key takeaways from today, of course, seamless handoffs are crucial when it comes to anything in business, not just the handoff process from sales to another team, but anywhere in business. It really is the core backbone to a customer's journey and their sort of the delivery of their expectations and the relationship that you hold between yourself and that customer. Having a unified system that can automatically do a lot of that for you and bring that consistency, I think is really, really key in today's work market. Having a centralized CRM tool relates back to exactly what I just said, keeping that consistency, but also encouraging efficiency. It's not a case that we have to rely on certain people that may have the information in their head. I know before in the past, I've worked in organizations where someone's left their laptop logged on an Excel spreadsheet and I can't get in with because of access rights. I'm sure everyone's experienced that at some point as well. But it's awful. It's awful. But having one cloud-based CRM solution like Monday CRM where you can collaborate anytime is very, very useful. Automation and standardization, it's once again seeing back to what I've been saying, automating those manual tasks, taking away some of the menial parts of the sales process, such as sending automatic emails, not having to duplicate processes, updating the CRM on the go to eliminate the need of so many needless Teams calls, so many needless meetings, saving time. Continuous improvement. Monday is a system that's designed for the here and the now, but also for the future. If we've got any current Monday users on the call, you'll know there's new features every week. And as you can see, you can really scale the handoff process in Monday. I mean, we showed you the estimations board, the CRM board. There can be so many more elements to that we can look at, as Saagar mentioned, the tendering side of things, legal, procurement, and even moving on to post-sales handoff, the year-on-year management of those customers as well can also be managed through Monday.com. And the final one of the biggest things that I see with Monday, one of the biggest great bits of feedback that we see is tech stack consolidation. So no one wants to be doing similar work across so many different tools. You've got a CRM here, you've got potentially, an internal tool, emails, Teams, where you have to update everyone. There could then also be a project management tool on the side. No one wants to be repeating work, and everyone wants to just be able to get all the information at once at a glance, as opposed to dipping and diving into many different areas, of course, leading to data inconsistency, which has been a big thing that I've been speaking about today. Having a centralized tool where all of this can be done in one place, it can all be done in the same process as well. So all of the data is consistent. So if we're moving from one case to another, we know where to find, for example, the communications between a client, the audit trail of where this got handed over. When we have that consistency, when we have it all in one tool, it makes it so much easier to move that process and to really just move quite seamlessly moving forward. I'm sure, Martin, you can definitely relate to the centralized CRM idea as well, just as I can.
Yeah. I mean, I think you touched on a good point there. Like we've shown a bit of sales process there and a bit of estimation and delivery process. We haven't gone yet into the, as you said, the post-sales bit. So, for example, invoice collection. I think I had one of the boards there I showed on the screen earlier on. We have an invoice collection part, so we can actually schedule the invoicing of a deal. Maybe it's at a particular point in time or a particular stage of delivery. We can set that, so we can set that as a task then for the finance team in Monday to do that invoice, and they've got the insight into what was quoted, what was sold, what the terms were agreed, etc. All in there and seamlessly handed over to them. After sale again, customer success team or customer service team, in terms of giving them the insight into that, the ability to raise cases then via customer and for them to respond and have that context of what the customer bought or what they were sold or what stage of delivery it's at or anything like that. So there's way more that we go into kind of post sale, which we haven't addressed today. And I think, again, like to what you said there about the tech stack consolidation. So potentially here, what we're doing is we're eliminating the costs and the complication of having multiple tools and maybe different tools for different departments. Instead, we're able to bring everybody into one Monday tool, which can address so many different use cases. So great cost savings there, great efficiency savings in terms of everyone using the same product and therefore being used to it, streamlining that communication between the lots of different departments, not just sales and delivery, but sales, delivery, customer success, finance, so much more. So I think, there's a lot beyond just what we've shown today. That's it from us from a content perspective. We've still got a couple of minutes left, so if there are any questions anybody's got or they'd like to raise with us now, more than happy to answer any of those.
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind me jumping in, Martin, we actually had a prerequisite question, a few prerequisite questions come through. If anyone's got any additional questions on top of this that they think of, we got the Q&A function here. One of the questions that come through, it seems that there's someone that can relate to the Excel dilemmas that we've discussed.
Yeah.
What is the most simple way to migrate an Excel spreadsheet into Monday? Is there an easy way to do it, or do you have to sort of build out the board all by themselves?
Yeah, Saagar, maybe that's one for you, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it really depends on what product you're importing or migrating the data. If it's work OS, it's a little different. If it's CRM, it's a little different. Obviously, establishing the links is something that you need to play around with the automations, but essentially importing the Excel itself into Monday is really simple. The Monday has, when you import it, it has a functionality to map the columns itself on Monday, and it's very straightforward. So importing Excel sheets is straightforward unless you're doing a specific use case. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So there
Thank
is,
you very much.
there is,
Go on, Martin.
no, I was just going to say real quickly, so we can see if we just take a leads board here as an example, so we can actually import leads in here from a CSV file. You can see then there's a couple of steps along the way, so matching the columns in terms of the import data versus what's on the board, dealing with any duplicates that might be along the way, and finally importing them. So there is a very basic level that we can do that. It's basic and it works. It can sometimes lead to further complication. I know, having done one early in the week, it's not always as most straightforward, but absolutely there is a tool here where we can just bring in data from an Excel or CSV file straight into Monday, and then manage it then from there.
Brilliant. Martin, just while you are sharing your screen there, another question that we had come in before the webinar today. Is there an audit trail within Monday.com where we can see points in time where people have perhaps changed the status of an item or allocated someone to a task?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just have a look here, and we'll go back into our opportunities board because that's the one we've been working on today. So I can see here there's an activity log. So you can see the icon of myself and Saagar on here because we've been active on the board today. So if I click into this, this will show us all of the activities that have taken place on this board yesterday and today, and the last couple of days. So I can see who made what change, when they made it. So we can see 27 minutes ago, the Amazon deal was moved to closed won, and we can filter that then by person, by anything we want. So I can see who last looked at the board. So I've just looked at it now. Saagar looked at it 2 hours. Ollie looked at it 2 days ago. Any updates that were made will be in here as well. So there's a full log of activities. We can also see any automations that ran, and if for some reason they weren't successful, luckily everything here today is being successful. So I can see excuse me, the activities, the automations that ran today. And again, we've got the ability to filter this by anything in particular. So for example, maybe I've got a concern about something failing, I can filter by fail. Great news, no results found, it's working perfectly.
Perfect. It's great to see that everything seems to be quite efficient in that respect as well. And final question, this might be a little bit of a hard one to show, but final question that we had just prior to the demo starting was, is there a way that I can hide specific fields or columns of data to different users internally, whether that be guests or, sort of users in the platform? Is there a way within Monday CRM or the general platform that I can hide columns or rows of data?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of different ways that we can address that, at a column level, at an item level, and so depending upon what's needed. So let's just say, for example, deal value, because it's got a number in it. We can go into here and we can go into settings, and we can restrict either who can edit or indeed who can view that particular column. So maybe not necessarily relevant for a deal value, but maybe there's some other, maybe as part of the estimation process, let's say, we might want to hide a cost that the company's built in or something like that. So we have the ability in here to restrict and define who can and cannot see, or who can and cannot edit that column. So again, just into settings there, and here, settings, restrict column editing. So I can make it that people can see the column but not necessarily edit it, because maybe that's a particular person only who can sign off on that. So that's at one level. From another level, from an item, so each line is an item, I can set it that only the only person who can see, sorry, I can only see something that's assigned to me. So if I'm in here as a person, I have an ownership of this particular thing, I can see that, but I couldn't necessarily see anything that didn't belong to me. So what that would look like, it would look like this, and it would just show me things where I am assigned against that. So that can be locked down and created dynamically, that when I look at the opportunities board, I see my opportunities. I don't see anyone else's. So that's quite a powerful one. And then lastly, then from a board level, we've got permissions here on the board level, and here we see. So there we go. View all opportunities. View only opportunities that are assigned to them. Edit everything. Edit content but not structure. Only edit things that you're assigned to, or just write updates on them. So lots of different ways that we can manage permissions at a board level, at an item level, a column level, then as well.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks so much, Martin. I think that is all of the questions that we've had from today, from the prerequisites and the Q&A.
Super. So we've got maybe a minute or two if anybody has anything additional they'd like to ask or that we haven't covered today. More than happy to take a minute or two to do that. If you have something, please pop it in the chat or the Q&A or ask us. If you don't, thank you very much for attending. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will share the recording with you. It'll be tomorrow when it's sent out to you. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with any one of us. If you'd like to learn more about anything we've covered today, if you've got any additional questions about anything related to what we've shown today, or maybe related to something else as well, more than happy to help. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you then on another webinar very soon.